So we're getting our Tuesday Frontier opening bell up and running. Welcome everyone to a brand new trading day. I am Bosin Omofaye, and this is how we started the new week. The Nigerian market climbed nearly 2%, or 0.2%, 20 basis points. A very strong trading day on the back of earnings coming through. We'll talk to you about some of those in just a few seconds. The BRVM, that's the French-speaking West African market in Abidjan, climbed nearly 0.5%. The Egyptian market came very strongly, nearly 1%, after some declining that we saw. That's on Thursday, by the way, with the markets still within some holiday period. On Monday, we saw the Nairobi Bourse down by 56 basis points, and the South African market slumped massively in line with the rest of the global developed and emerging markets, down 3.48%. There were concerns about the COVID-19 restrictions in China. About 20 million Chinese are currently on lockdown due to the re-emerging COVID-19 pandemic. There were concerns about whether this will affect the demand for oil, metals, and other commodities and resources that China uses as the world's second largest economy, and a roaring one at that. There are also concerns about inflation and the interest rate outlook from the US Fed. All of that played into the global markets on Monday. So investors came around to a number of frontier markets in Africa and elsewhere, you saw some bargain hunting. So keep that in mind. Let's just move on to East Africa. The Kenyans are still mourning the passing of President Mwai Kibaki, who was that iconic third president of the country. There's a public holiday last on Friday. Then the markets are coming back this week. The state funeral has been announced, and we'll see how that goes as Kenyans say goodbye to one very iconic leader described as the best CEO Kenya ever had. In the meantime, the diaspora remittances by Kenyans back into the country went up 25% in the month of March. The figure came through at $363 million US. And Kenya, the government has allocated 47 million shillings for cooking gas as subsidy. Kenya is still reeling with fuel subsidy. Now cooking gas is getting into the energy crisis mix. And East African cables listed on the Nairobi Bourse and, of course, a few other exchanges within the region said its loss in 2021 narrowed to about 299 million local currency. And Uganda Airlines made a whopping 7 billion shillings from chartered flight operations in the first 3 months of this year. And Tanzania and the United States have put pen to paper. They've signed 7 investment deals worth about 5.04 billion US dollars. That's coming through under the new administration in Tanzania. Let's get on to the West Africa. Yes, so Nigeria's earnings coming through from EcoBank Transnational. Its gross earnings up by 15%. Revenue came in about 10%. Profit after tax up by 26%. Deposit liabilities depressed a little bit for this Pan-African bank operating about 35 African countries, listed on 3 exchanges in West Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, as well as Cote d'Ivoire. Stanbic IBTC is a holding company in Nigeria for the financial services group, which includes Stanbic IBTC Bank. First quarter gross earnings up about 48%, net interest income at 47.7%, and profit after tax at nearly 34%. Unilever, Nigeria, one of the biggest names in household consumer products, HCP, reporting 1.8 billion local currency in profit for the first quarter of this year. Some of these earnings still coming through from Nigerian breweries as well. One of the Nigeria's largest brewing company reported net profit doubling 78.3% in the first 3 months of this year, a very roaring period of the first quarter of the year as Nigerians push the pandemic behind them and begin to get on into business. A lot of activities, social activities are taking places, in-house, religious services, social business events are taking place. So alcohol and beverages consumption are on the rise in Africa's most populous country. That's playing into the things in increase in prices also by the consumer goods companies. MTN, yesterday, Nigeria's telco giant, listed on the NGX, reported the floating of its new 127 billion Series 1 and Series 2 commercial papers. That's out of the 150 billion naira box that the MTN has on standby. 127 of that was unveiled yesterday. 2 tranches, by the way. Alios Finance in Cote d'Ivoire says its net loss went down to 603 million CFA franc for the full year 2021. Some of these late filings of earnings are coming through across a number of markets within the continent. Asante Gold is in talks to buy 90% of Chirano Mine, that's in Ghana. So let's go to Southern Africa, where the markets slumped massively yesterday. Mozambique has a very big news. The authorities have decided to float what you call a sovereign wealth fund before the country starts raking in billions of dollars in LNG exports to Europe and elsewhere. Very smart, very sensible way to go. Before the money hits the ground, before the money starts coming in, create what you call a savings account. And that's what the sovereign wealth fund technically is, saving for the rainy day. So the sovereign wealth fund will be created before Mozambique start exporting gas massively from October later this year. And Sasol, South Africa's energy company, has declared a force majeure because of the flooding disaster, the havoc wreaked by torrential rainfall just about a week ago around Durban, KwaZulu-Natal region. Zimbabwe is still scratching his head out to deal with exchange market malpractices, manipulations. So banks and companies have been warned by President Emerson Mnangagwa himself to stop misbehaving with the currency market, or they're going to lose their licenses. In the meantime, Zimbabwe is in talks with foreign investors as the country looks to float $100 million bond. That is on the street. We'll see when this go, at what price will Zimbabwe be able to go to the market. Zimbabwe needs all the money it can get right now in hard currencies to support the local Zimbabwean dollar, as the country says there's no going back in the adoption of Zimbabwean dollar as the fiat local currency. And Zambia is pushing for local production to cut fertilizer prices. Fertilizer is getting crushed in the Russian-Ukraine crisis. Now every country is looking for alternative. Nigerian Dangote Industrial Group floated its own fertilizer company just a few weeks ago, and now every other country on the continent are looking for alternative sources. So Zambia is pushing for increased local production of fertilizer to reduce the pressure that is coming from imports of that essential product for agriculture. Let's move on. Look into the North African markets and the economies. Egypt is speaking with the IFC, which is the International Finance Corporation, the private sector lending arm of the World Bank, to enhance private sector participation in the economy, try to deepen that, see what the IFC can bring into the table. In the meantime, Egypt's chemical exports rose 28%, about $2 billion for the first quarter of this year. That is quite huge if you consider the volume of chemicals that Egypt produces and exports outside the region. And with Takaful Insurance, which is a non-interest-bearing insurance provider, says it's targeting 700 million Egyptian pounds in local currency as premiums by the end of 2022. At the IMF, it's expecting Libya's economy to grow 5.3% this year. That's quite amazing. If you consider the fact that Libya is still politically unstable, but still trying to make economic progress, 5.2% is much higher in terms of economic forecast for Libya against countries such as Nigeria, much bigger in GDP and all of that, a little bit more politically stable. The projection for Nigeria is 3.4%. Libya is coming through at 5.3%, one of the highest on the African continent. Morocco is to supply clean energy to the United Kingdom. And how are they going to do it? They're going to use what you call a subsea cable to pipe clean energy from Morocco on an English channel all the way to the United Kingdom. Europe is looking for alternative energy sources left, right, and center. No thanks to the Russian-Ukraine war fast-tracking that. And clean energy is just the way to go. Finally, the Tunisian is holding talks with the EBRD, which is the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, as well as the AfDB, to support the economic reform and financial markets reform agenda of President Said. Talks are going on with the IMF already. There could be an extended enhanced finance facility for Tunisia. Now, the talk with the IMF is opening way for strategic DFIs such as the EBRD and the AfDB to sit down with the authorities in Tunis and see how they can help implement the new reform agenda of the administration. And that's about it for this Tuesday. That's your opening bell. You've been briefed. I'll see you next time. Go on our social media platforms to watch this show again on YouTube at Frontier Africa Reports, our website. All our stories are there, including other shows, as well as special reports, frontierafricareports.com, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, as well as Instagram. I'll see you next time, everyone.